You're watching Town Talk, and joining me today is Amber Patterson. She's our Chief Procurement Officer here at the Town of Barnstable. Amber, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with what procurement is, because I have a feeling, it seems like something that is obvious, but it might not be to some people. What do you do in procurement?
So we oversee the procurement activities throughout the town, and that includes all town departments, the school district, as well as the airport.
Wow.
And what we do is we work very closely with departments. We look at what their needs are, and then we work with them to figure out how they get what they need. Mm-hmm. And we do solicitations for them. We evaluate quotes, proposals, and bids, and then we also do the contract documents and awarding. And it's all in an effort to make sure that there's accountability for how we're spending public funds.
Mm-hmm. What is the smallest thing you've procured, and what is the largest thing you've procured?
Sure.
Do you happen to know that?
So the town does utilize Amazon. We have an Amazon business account, so sometimes we'll get requisitions for maybe $5 or under for just office supplies. Mm-hmm. And the largest thing that I've procured, it's actually currently a bid that's out. It's for the nitrogen headworks project at DPW.
Wow.
And that has a very high dollar value. I believe it was at $98 million.
Wow. So my projects are quite small in comparison. I do maybe one procurement project a year, and you are great to work with, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Some departments, I'm sure, are constantly procuring things and working on that process. Something like DPW, I mean, they have probably procurement going on every week.
Constantly. Yes. And municipal procurement isn't something that's inherent to most people. Even our residents, I think, people don't even know that we have our own procurement department, mm-hmm. which is unique for the town of Barnstable. A lot of towns, it will be an assistant town manager or town manager who oversees procurement. But Barnstable is very lucky, given our size, that we have our own procurement department. And one of my favorite things to do is that education piece and working with staff. All the department needs are so different. Yeah. And so any day we're working with MEA, to meet their needs, DPW, your department, communications, just making sure that we're following procurement laws.
Right.
And those laws are dictated to us by federal, state, and we have some local regulations as well.
Wow, that's a lot to know and to be aware of to make sure that you're procuring properly.
Yes. And so goods and services, that's Chapter 30B. And then we have our construction laws, which is under Chapter 3039M and Chapter 149. That is all things that I know and my staff is aware of. We don't expect all departments to be procurement gurus, right. But that is why we are here and work so closely with them.
That's great. So you do so much different procuring, and I know that the county does a lot of procuring, and you talked about how the town of Barnstable is a little slightly different because we have our own procurement department. It's you and a small staff, but you're part of the finance department, but the county also does. I know you partner with the county quite a bit for some things. Can you talk a little bit about that partnership?
Yes, so we work with Barnstable County a lot. Jennifer Freitz is the Chief Procurement Officer there, and what the county does is they do countywide contracts, and they'll do a countywide bid for various things, for trades, copy paper, water, chemicals. Those are just a few examples. And we are allowed to utilize those contracts. So it saves us time, and we make sure that we're getting the best value, and it just makes the procurement a lot faster for us. We also utilize Massachusetts state contracts, and it's the Operational Services Division that oversees those. And it's the same idea that it saves us time because they've done the bid process for us. They're vetted vendors. We know that they are going to provide quality goods and services to us. The state also does have a trades contract that we can utilize as well. There are dollar caps on those, though. So the cost for any type of trade is $50,000. So between $50,000 and it can go all the way down to anything less than 10. That's when we can use those contracts. Anything over 50 does have to be our own competitive sealed bid. Right. So we do a lot of our own procurement.
So let's talk about that, the bid process and how that works here in the town of Barnstable.
Mm-hmm. So what happens is a department contacts us. We go over what their needs are, what their scope of services are, and what the requirements are. We want to make sure that when we're preparing a bid or request for proposal, that we put all of the requirements in to make sure that we are getting a responsible, responsive, eligible bidder. So we work with departments to create what we call our front-end document, and that is the invitation for bid, a request for quote, a request for proposal. And then we go ahead in procurement, we submit all the legal ads. By law, we are required to submit legal ads when it reaches a certain dollar threshold. So we have a legal ad in Cape Cod Times. It has to be a local newspaper. We also put a legal ad in the Central Register, which is the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office. They publish that. And then there's also ComBuys, which is another state entity. It's overseen by the Operational Services Division, and we put the opportunity there as well. And then we have our own Town of Barnstable procurement portal, which is really such a great tool. We post all of our projects on there that have to be publicly bid, and anyone can access that. So in real time, you can see what projects we have posted. You can select view opportunity, and it gives you all the details for the project and the project documents. It will tell you when the due date is, if there is a pre-bid meeting, and it also gives you a list of all the plan holders. So everyone's able to see who's pulled the documents and who might be interested in the project. So it really helps us make sure that we're being as transparent as possible, and we are soliciting that open and fair competition.
Right. I know that you get asked a lot, like, how do I get on the town's list?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is not something that we generally have.
We do not have a preferred vendor list. What we do is we have our public opportunities, which are on the website, and when required by law, we do the legal advertisements. And we also utilize Barnstable County contracts as well as state contracts. So when I'm contacted by a vendor contractor and they ask that question, what I do is I will walk them through the process of registering on the Town of Barnstable procurement portal so they can see our opportunities. I put them in contact with the county so that they can see those opportunities available to them. And then I also help them reach out to the state operational services division to get information on how to be a part of that contract. And then also just see what contracts are available and what categories they might actually fit in. There's so much opportunity to work with local and state governments, and it's just making sure that we're providing those resources to our contractors and vendors.
Yeah, I know a big part of what you do is education and training so that people understand, you know, what the process is, and it's really important to know what that is before you get involved in it, so you know that you're doing things appropriately, and you know you're submitting things in a timely fashion, because everything's, you know, you put it out and it may have 7 to 10 days.
Exactly. So most of our bids over $50,000 by law we're required to post for at least 2 weeks. But there are those smaller requests for quotes that might be a shorter time period. But that education piece is just so essential because procurement law is very complex. And each of those laws that I spoke of earlier, Chapter 30B, Chapter 149, Chapter 3039M, while the basic practices are all the same and the principles, the complexities of each is very different. So it's our responsibility to make sure our departments are following those rules and regulations. And then on the other side, it's also our responsibility to make sure that contractors and vendors are meeting those requirements.
Right. That's great. We have something here in the town called Inside Barnstable Town Government, which is an opportunity for residents to learn about the town. But we recently did one for employees to learn about the town that they work in. And one of the things that came of that was a lot of the people in the class wanted to learn more about procurement. So you've been able to offer, you know, internally for employees to learn more about the procurement process and how best to follow it, because it is something, I mean, I don't think there's any department that doesn't procure in any way. Everybody has, even me with my maybe 1 or 2 little projects a year, you know, every department does it. So it's important to understand how it all works, because it is as complex as you say it is, but it's definitely something that people can learn about.
Yes, and it's all in the details. So we do provide a lot of educational opportunities for both our internal stakeholders and external. And our internal trainings can range from using Munis, which is our financial system. Then it goes into best practices for procurement. And then we also offer courses for more specific construction bids. there needs to be an awareness of what the laws and rules are if I'm to hold staff accountable to make sure that we're following them.
Right. What's the best way for people to reach out to the procurement office to get more information if they were looking for it?
Sure. Calling me directly or my staff, we're always available. We also have office hours, so we're willing to meet in person. Send me an email, really, anyway, all the ways of communication. I always do appreciate when vendors or contractors stop by and I'm able to have that face-to-face time with them and get them registered on the procurement portal and show them opportunities. So we're always available.
That's great. Amber, is there anything about procurement that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure we mention?
Well, there's so much about procurement. I think I would need hours, but I think this was a great introduction.
Wonderful. Amber, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you, Sarah.